Hello everybody, my name is Munkle, and today we're going to be talking about the new update that has hit us right smack bang in the middle of the face. And I'm extremely pleased. There's been some really excellent outcomes for the game. And see for yourself, there's a huge list of patch notes. I'll put the link in the description. And yeah, they've just done a really excellent job of putting themselves in the shoes of the Team Fortress 2 players. And there's been map changes, there's been heaps of bugs, including the sentry placement on Egypt, which is one of the things I dreaded the most. And there's a whole bunch of those, check them out. And there was 2 new maps added to the official roster, which is CP Standin, which I'm currently playing as the scout right now, and CP Process, both of which I played this morning. They're really excellent maps. I'm glad that they've added those. And of course, finally, they've added heaps of changes to all the weapons, and they've done a really interesting job of that. They've definitely tried to really balance out everything, and they've brought lots of weapons that were doing poorly or people weren't really equipping. They've boosted some of the statistics, and one of which is the winger, which I'm using throughout this gameplay. Basically, they've added a 25% jump boost, so you can see I'm really jumping around. It feels like zero gravity, like you've just got that extra oomph to your jump. And yeah, that gives you a really good reason to actually use the winger in the first place, because it was something that everybody neglected, I'm sure. I don't think I've even equipped it. But yeah, so that's really cool. There's a whole bunch, and of course, mini sentries they have nerfed. Finally, took them a fair while, but they managed to do it. And gone are the days of playing scout and trying to pop the caps into that tiny little arse of the mini sentry, and it just won't die. And basically, what they've done is they've taken the health right down while the mini sentry is building, so you can take it out with at least 1 rocket or a few shots from the scattergun now, which is really good. Yeah, so that's great. Another downside is the Lontron J, which is, I think it was added 40% cloak per bullet that's hit. So basically, every bullet that you hit with the Lontron J, you're going to gain a lot of metal back. So that means there's a whole bunch of battle spies. You'll see some throughout the gameplay, just jumping around with the Lontron J and abusing the Dead Ringer, which is a bit frustrating, but they can't do everything perfect. Check this out, destroying this sentry with the scattergun. Very nice work there. And a few notes on this map. It's really excellent to play. It didn't take me too long to get into. It's certainly a really fun map. It's a bit strange for scout. I mean, there's heaps of ledges and places to jump, but it's very caved in, and by that I mean there's just not a lot of space and places to hide, really. I mean, it's really exposing and it's very small. So I do spend a lot of the time at mid trying to cap and just keep people off the point, which is really good to do because that is the only place where there is a big health pack. And there's smaller ones scattered around that point, and there's smaller ones on control point A and C, which are on either side of the mid. And that's one of the issues with this map. I think there could be more health packs, particularly if there's a full server. I mean, people are really in need of health packs all the time, and I know as a scout I'm constantly running around for health packs and stuff like that. So that's something that I thought might be changed. I don't know. With the exception of that, if you've got medics on your team, that's okay, and you certainly need medics if you want to be capping the midpoint consistently. And yeah, so as I was saying, it's a bit difficult for scout. It doesn't take too much getting used to. Yeah, I think it's definitely more based around explosive classes like Demo Man and Soldiers, because there's so many tight corridors for you to do heaps of damage in a small amount of time. It's good for scout because there's heaps of places you can weave around and stuff, which is good. And I think there's lots of potential for market gardeners and stuff, particularly around this midpoint. Becomes a lot sort of enclosed and inside on the other points, but generally it's a really polished map. I think they've done a good job. I don't think they actually built this map from scratch. I think they added this. This is a community map, so there you go. Pretty cool. And yeah, So all in all, they've done a really excellent job of this update. They've certainly really nurtured everything that people were trying to fix about the game, and just see for yourself, the patch notes on the maps is ridiculous, the amount of little exploits they've changed, which is really good to see. And a lot of games they nerf their weapons, but there's not a lot of games where they actually buff weapons to get a more balanced arsenal of weapons for the people to use. And I think that's really interesting to note. It's certainly something that Valve have done really well. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of weapons should be left to be untouched, particularly stuff like the Cow Mangler. I don't want people using the Cow Mangler, it's just sort of annoying and a poor weapon. And I think some weapons should be left, most certainly. I mean, others should be buffed, but at the same time, I think they don't have to buff everything so everything's in the same playing field. I reckon there should certainly be a distinguished amount of weapons that are better than others. I think definitely the default weapons should be the go-to way for players. I think things like the Ambassador and the Huntsman and stuff, they really promote different styles, which is good, but I think stuff should really be based around the default weapons is what I'm trying to say. And another interesting note about this update, there were some guys on this server using the quick fix, and they'd found an exploit where essentially if you Uber on the winning team during the humiliation, if you Uber after the cheering, that Uber carries on into the next round, and you can go any class, and you can actually get healing as though you were being healed from a medic, which is really strange. I hope they fixed that, but I thought that was pretty funny. And you will notice that I've been using a new HUD. This is called BX HUD. It's a nice tidy HUD. It changes pretty much all the font of the game. It makes it look really clean and polished, and it has damage numbers and stuff. And yeah, the heads up just in the center of the screen below my scattergun, which is really good. I find like the default one's a little bit cluttered, and not only that, it feels like my game's actually running a lot smoother with someone else's HUD installed. I'm not sure why that is, but yeah, I've noticed a big change in frames and just more fluidity in my gameplay, so there you go. Yeah, I'll put the link in the description for this HUD, it's certainly worth checking out. I've been playing heaps of Scout recently, just trying to get my aim down and really tackle some of the things that I used to find challenging on Scout. It's definitely one of the most puzzling classes for me. I still really struggle with it. It's fine with these sort of maps, like if there's a central point and people sort of rotating around that, I can, you know, jump around and do my thing quite easily. But in terms of payload and stuff, I find that really difficult to just understand my role and know what to do. I just kind of get sick of it because you don't get picks as regularly as some of the other power classes. But that's totally okay. It's just a matter of just really harassing the enemy team and stuff like that. And during these gameplays, I do a decent job. Do miss a lot of shots, but I'm predominantly dodging and harassing and just shooting people the whole time, which is really good. And you will notice that usually I'm not much of an objective guy. I like to jump around and kill stuff, but I did have a huge contribution to my team in terms of capping. That was one of my priorities. And you have the most fun when you actually play the objective. I find people who get a little bit sort of selfish and want to get those picks and stuff, they don't quite understand what it's like to actually play the team game, which is really cool. And of course with the Scout you've got the 2 times on the control points and the payload, so be sure to do that. So anyway, as a closing statement, this update has been fantastic. CP Standin's a really good map. Lots of the weapon changes they've added is really interesting, and it'll give people heaps of time to try out the new changes and everything. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Hopefully I could shed some light on this new update, and give it a go for yourself. There's heaps to try out and things like that. So thank you for watching, and see ya.